I 38F and my husband 41M have been together for 12 years and married for 10. We have a 8-year-old daughter and I want to leave him. The problem is because it's not over anything dramatic, so my family are extremely against it. I'm Korean American, second gen, and my husband is first gen, and in Korea men do zero housework. My friends who are immigrants are shocked any man does any housework. I'm raised more in an equal family. My mom and dad are both doctors and both do some of the housework, but my mom definitely does more. I didn't live in a huge city for medical school and residency, so honestly my husband was one of like 10 Koreans man my age there. My ex was white and I loved him, also a medical student at the time, but my parents refused to let me marry him because he wasn't Korean. I really regret it. I married my husband because my parents wanted it and he was close by and the right age. We don't get along. He was raised very traditional and wasn't expected to ever wash a plate. He is by Western standards pretty sexist. But life was okay until he was laid off 2 years ago because he was busy, and so I felt like I had to do all the housework. He was in tech but worked on something that has been depreciated and had a hard time finding new work. He made 6 figures in his previous role but now struggles to make the same. We could move but he refuses to us to be close to his family. His family really doesn't like me as I'm an emergency room doc and have calls, so I sometimes can't be home to tuck my child in. He never did any housework before the layoff and now he still doesn't, but maybe because I let it go for so long he thinks because I want him to do it now is me looking down on him now that he isn't working because he sees it as demeaning him. My mother-in-law was a Zam her whole life and doesn't believe a career and motherhood goes together. However, everyone knows I make most, and now all, of the money, and it makes her hate me because she feels like her son is being emasculated. And he feels like that too, so he puts me down about how I'm a bad mother when I go to shifts that require him to be at home with our daughter. I think he might be suffering from depression, but he and his family don't believe in mental health and has yelled at me for suggesting seeing a therapist. The last straw was last weekend. I came home after a conference and the house was a mess and my daughter had only eaten McDonald's and frozen pizzas because my husband refused to cook. I bought all the ingredients and it was extremely simple to make a fried rice. I even cooked the rice. Even though I was on for plus 60 hours a week, I do all the cooking, cleaning and most of the childcare as I picked her up and drop her off from school. I will admit I was against divorce until my friend divorced. She suffered a pretty toxic marriage for 15 years and divorced 2 years ago. She is now so much happier and tells me it's way better than being with her ex. I want to leave but my family is extremely against it as no one in my family is divorced and it is seen as extremely taboo. They say I will ruin my child if I do, and my parents told me they won't help me do anything if I leave because I'm shaming them. I'm torn, but I can't stand this anymore and I've told my husband at least 4 times I want a divorce and he just says he has no idea why I want it even when I spell out in bullet point what he needs to do to make things right. Then he just ignores them and complains I nag when I point out what he's doing wrong. My mom is always telling me I must not be communicating, but I have many times and I'm just ignored. Comment 1. You married him to please your family, and that hasn't worked out for you. Now you want to stay with him to please your family. Also not going to go well. Do you want your daughter to think this is normal? You need to model the kind of adult relationships you want her to have. Comment 2. NTA. While it may be a cultural norm for your family to expect nothing of the spouse they forced you marry, you need to choose between a happy future for yourself and your daughter, or the misery you're currently experiencing. Your life and chosen career are very other-directed and valuable. You married the person your parents wanted and it didn't work out, so they have no say in the matter anymore. They shamed themselves, you didn't. Please put yourself and your child first. If some other woman wants to submit herself to your current husband's selfishness, so be it, but it doesn't have to be you. Time to move on. You have your whole life in front of you, make the most of it. I'm 40F, and I have 6 sisters. My 2 older sisters are 44 and 47, and my 4 younger sisters are 38, 36, 34, and 32. We've always been a close-knit family, and for the past decade, I've taken on the responsibility of hosting Thanksgiving at my house. I enjoy having everyone over, but it's a lot of work, especially since we all have at least 2 kids each, all in the age group 5 to 15. It's chaos, but joyful chaos. My husband helps out, but the majority of the planning, cooking, and organizing falls on me. This year, I decided I need a break. Life has been hectic, and I'm feeling burnt out. Between work, taking care of my kids 10,11m, and other responsibilities, I'm just not up for the task of hosting a big family gathering. So, I suggested that one of my sisters take over hosting Thanksgiving this year. I brought this up in our family group chat, thinking it would be a reasonable request and it's plenty ahead of time. However, my 2 older sisters, Sarah, 47, and Emily, 44, were not happy with the idea. Sarah has a busy job and a smaller house, so she feels she can't accommodate everyone comfortably. Emily argued that she's been dealing with a lot of stress lately and doesn't have the energy to host. They both suggested that since I've been doing it for so long, I should just keep the tradition going, especially since my house is the most spacious and I'm the one who knows how to do it right. My younger sisters were more understanding, but they also hesitated to take on the responsibility. My sister Jessica, 38, said she would be willing to help out more with the preparations if I hosted, but she wasn't confident about hosting the entire event herself. The other younger sisters offered similar compromises, but no one was willing to take on the full load. After some back and forth, I stood firm and said I really need someone else to host this year. I suggested we could even make it a potluck to ease the burden, but Sarah and Emily were still upset. They accused me of being selfish and abandoning a family tradition that I've upheld for years. They argued that I'm the one with the most experience, and that Thanksgiving just wouldn't be the same if I didn't host. Now, there's tension in the family, with my older sisters feeling like I'm letting them down. I feel like I've done my fair share over the years, and it's not unreasonable to ask for a break. But at the same time, I understand that my older sisters are also under a lot of pressure, and that hosting Thanksgiving is a big deal for our family. ETA, the second oldest, Emily, handles Christmas. So I feel like it's totally fair that she not want to do both. She does not cook though, she hires a catering company, but it's still a lot to take on regardless. Comment 1. NTA. Thanksgiving is a lot of work. Your sisters are using tradition as a tool to manipulate you into doing a lot of work without any reciprocity. I think you've been too nice. Lay it out frankly. Either the work of hosting Thanksgiving becomes more equitable or you're never hosting your sisters again. Comment 2. NTA, obviously. Fascinating how these alleged family traditions are so important to those who refuse to share in the considerable burden, time, expense, and effort. Hope you can go to a nice restaurant, doubtlessly with an appropriate feast available, and have a nice relaxing day. Comment 3. NTA. My family is larger than yours. My oldest sister hosts because she has the space and is willing to do it. Potluck, everyone tends to bring the same thing each year. After eating, the men, including nephews, do the dishes. Same thing at Christmas with a different host. We always bring food to family gatherings no matter the occasion. My kid's birthday party and my siblings are bringing food. It makes hosting so much easier. My fiancé, 24M, and I, 24F, have been dating for 6 years. He proposed to me a few months ago, which was the happiest moment of my life. We set our wedding date for this December. However, after what happened last night, I am seriously considering breaking up with my fiancé, and am unsure if I am an R. My fiancé, my brother, and I were all walking back to our car from dinner at a nice restaurant. The car was parked pretty far away as the place was packed, so we had to walk quite some distance. It was late at night, and as we were walking, a person in a bike came to the side of us, and stopped us and demanded we give everything we had. My fiancé panicked and just ran away, but my brother, after talking to the man for a couple of minutes, just attacked the man, and long story short, my brother beat him up. The man had no weapon, it was just a fake gun. I called my fiancé after that and told him everything was fine, and that we would pick him up. My fiancé still seemed a bit shaken, but I explained to him everything was all right, and my fiancé thanked my brother a lot. However, I just felt extremely weird, and sort of disappointed that my fiancé just ran away. I understand it was his natural instinct, but just seeing my brother take the attacker down, and in comparison to my fiancé just running away, I just feel like I lost a lot of love for my fiancé after last night. I spoke with my brother this morning to get his opinion, and he said I should still give my fiancé a chance, and that my fiancé loves me, and what happened last night is not a normal occurrence. However, I told him, I just got a massive ick, and I don't think this ick will ever go. Comment 1. Whether the change in your feelings about your fiancé makes you in a hole or not, you would not be doing either of you any favors by staying with him out of guilt. You feel what you feel. Comment 2. That's a thought 1, but imagine if your brother wasn't there. It's scary to think your partner will not have your back. I felt that ick you mentioned. It's really hard to bounce back from that. NTA. About 9 years ago, my brother's wife left him for another man. She was cheating on him all that time. My brother was devastated. They had married very young. I was always against it. I had my brother in my apartment for months. He had fallen into a severe depression, and I was the one who paid for his psychologist since he didn't have money and even lost his job because he didn't even wanted to move from the couch or bath. I even gave him a bath. I wasn't bothered by that. I did everything for my brother. She just left and blocked him from everywhere. She simply confessed to him that she had been cheating on him for a year and that she was in love with that man. 4 years after that, when my brother was finally starting to feel better, she reappeared in everyone's life. The typical thing happened. She and her lover were no longer together. She had begun to receive psychological help and changed completely. She felt regretful, she was really sorry, etc. I told my brother all the time to cut off contact with her for the sake of his mental health. He didn't. I always had a bad feeling and I could smell the shit from afar. He started to justify her past actions all the time by saying that she changed, they were too young, she was having problems, etc. And he got angry when I told him that she is still a witch. Shortly after that, they got back together and my brother cut off all contact with me because I didn't accept their relationship and he didn't wanted anyone to come between them. I told him to duck off and we didn't talk anymore. Now my brother has reappeared at my house, after years without him wanting to talk to me, only to tell me that his wife cheated on him again, but this time they have children. In the past I would have let him in, hugged him and everything, but he has gone years without even inviting me to meet his children. He has not even spoken to me to congratulate me on my marriage or on my pregnancy. I even invited him to my wedding and he didn't come. I told him that at this moment I can't let him be in my house, which is actually true because I can't have that kind of stress. He told me that we are siblings and he needs me, but I told him that I needed him too, but he was never there and he cut me off for that woman. We had an argument and my husband ended up kicking him out because I was already crying. He's staying with our parents now and my mother just tells me it's not the time to hold a grudge against him and he needs me, but I can't forget how he didn't think twice before cutting off all contact with me for her. Comment 1. Yeah, no. He burned a bridge. This is called the consequences of your actions and he can figure it out. If he wants to consider reparations at some point in the future, I would seriously consider if it's even worth it. Comment 2. NTA. It's funny how you can't hold a grudge but he can be mad. Relationships are a two-way street. You were there for him at his lowest and he threw you away for a woman that clearly doesn't care about him. What happens if the wife comes back and they get back together? Will he disappear again? You have enough self-respect to know that you deserve to be treated better, and if he had half the self-respect you had, he wouldn't be in this position. A couple of nights ago, my fiancé and I were talking, and he dropped a bombshell. He was married before and has a 6-year-old daughter from that marriage that I never knew about. He said he kept it from me because he didn't want to stress me out and thought it was better to protect me from the drama of his past. I'm feeling a mix of anger, confusion, and betrayal. I honestly don't know if I can get past this or if it's a deal breaker. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with him, and now I can't stop wondering if he'd lie about important things in our future, too. To make matters worse, his mother has weighed in and is telling everyone that my doubts and reactions make me a bad woman because I'm not immediately accepting of his previous child. Now they're running with this narrative as if I'm the bad guy for being upset that I was kept in the dark about such a significant part of his life. I'm struggling with how to process this and decide what to do next. Should we try to work through it, or is this too big to overcome? I really thought I knew him well, and this revelation has thrown me for a loop.